Always got a lot on my mind. It feels like the net just gets bigger with time, stretching out behind me, trawling the open sea. I waste a lot of breath on the bullshit. I breathe a lot of air that keeps making me sick, or maybe just hazy, a little bit lazy. It's okay if you don't have the answers. The questions remain the same. There's a whole lot of people claiming their team, but nobody knows the game. So give me a minute to come to my senses, to look out the window and stop building fences. 'Cause all the wild horses, they just wanna run free, and I wanna know you. I just want you to know me too. Pointing your finger at me, I dare you to stick it between my teeth. You just keep putting up crosses and sharpening nails as you wait for the cultural priest to hand down a confident sentence to anyone accused of a crime. There's 1,000 ways to blow it, so don't even think about speaking your mind. Maybe you would rather be angry, but I'd rather sleep at night. There's a fraction to every outcome, and there's a spectrum of wrong and right. So give me a minute to come to my senses, to look out the window and stop building fences. 'Cause all the wild horses, they just want to run free, and I wanna know you. I just want you to know me too. Sometimes making songs for a living feels like living to make songs. And sometimes I get an uneasy feeling. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Nothing really feels like home, and I just wanna be alone. Calculate the hours till the power in the well goes dry. I'm watching as the stage goes black. How long until we all go back to being nothing at all, nothing but a spark in someone's eye? Am I giving all that I can give? Am I earning the right to live by looking in a mirror? There's nothing more sincere than selfish art. And sometimes when I got nothing to say, I think breaking a heart could maybe be the start of some new page. And sometimes I play a couple war games using live ammunition so I can fix what I'm missing. And most of my songs are true. Most of my songs are due to some broken people so I could write a single. I'm watching as the stage goes black. How long until we all go back to being nothing at all, nothing but a spark in someone's eye? Am I giving all that I can give? Am I earning the right to live by looking in a mirror? There's nothing more sincere than selfish art. I'm watching as the stage goes black. How long until we all go back to being nothing at all, nothing but a spark in someone's eye? Am I giving all that I can give? Am I earning the right to live by looking in a mirror? There's nothing more sincere than selfish art. There's nothing more sincere than an empty heart. No, there's nothing more sincere than who we are, and who we are, and who we are. Have you seen my baby? She's been out on her own. I've been going crazy trying to get her on the phone. I got all this money under the ground. When I get out, sun call you on my way back. You and your brother operate family-run restaurant, like Landmark Place here in Seattle. And you, like, I've had meals here, and the food is obviously awesome. But the thing that, like, has always struck me is how you're able to create an atmosphere of like genuine care and appreciation for people who come in here, regardless of like status. Because this is it's a fancy restaurant.
Yeah.
But like anecdotally, like my dad came in for dinner once. Like I bought my folks dinner, and like they're really chill people. And like my dad had on like his dress shirt was like this T-shirt with different like little illustrations of like camping things on.
Like that was his.
That was like his like
nice
getting
shirt.
dressed up shirt.
No.
Yeah. And he like one of his main comments from the night was like, just how unpretentious and genuinely caring everyone seemed.
Sure.
Or not even seemed, like actually was. And so like, I guess what I've been curious about is how that seems to be coming from a place of actual empathy, where you care about the people who work for you and also for the people that come in. And like, so I guess I'm just curious, like where...
I hope so.
Yeah.
Because if it's not genuine, then it's just right here on camera. We're like, yeah, that guy's just so
full of shit.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, I don't think you can... It's really hard to fake that level of sincerity. And so I guess like, is that something you're conscious of? Is it just like so built into the model that you're not even aware of it? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I think I'm conscious of it. I remember early on. So yeah, I run it with Brian, my brother, and early on when we'd first taken over, I was running the front desk, and kind of the maitre d' role. And a restaurant critic had come in that night. I didn't know, but so I'm greeting and just really sincerely, like earnestly, kind of like I'm here and I'm young and
How old were you?
I came back at 30, which means I looked about 14 at the time, and never have really like owned that whole looking my age thing. But so if people think I'm a kid or like no, don't even work there, and anyway. This writer comes in, she goes home, and she writes this thing about how it's a lovely restaurant, but the earnest kid at the front seemed more like a puppy dog than like a... So in the back of my head, there's this puppy dog line where I feel like I genuinely get excited in the restaurant, and I come across more as like a slobbery puppy dog than some sort of sophisticated restaurant owner who is like, I don't know, in some debonair, svelte way greeting you. But yeah, I think there's a real, we like what we do.
Yeah.
I like what I do. And I'm a raging introvert. Like it's scary to go out on the floor. And yet you just take a moment to like pause and watch it or listen to the conversations at the table, and you so quickly fall into their story because it's so much our story. Like you realize how alike or how similar everyone is. I think is what happens if you just take a sec to listen through it. And it's funny you use the word fancy. Like,
well, it's true.
Such a fancy word, but it's like it's fancy. Yeah, it's fancy.
It's
for lack of a better word.
It's a nice fancy place.
Yeah. No,
which has so much potential to be snooty or to be pretentious or stuffy or any of those things that
I
people
think we conflate those words.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just screwed it up early. Maybe everything that was fancy was snooty, and we fully just wrecked fancy. I don't know. I wasn't there in the early days, but we desperately don't want to be that.
Sure.
And I don't think they have to be. I don't think they're on the same plane.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything pretentious about fancy, or I don't think it has to be.
Yeah.
But what happens is, we're like, hey, it's a big night out, do this cool old-fashioned thing called dressing up, and then sometimes that can come across as, who the hell are you to tell me how to dress? Like,
Right.
Whoa, man, I'm not saying that,
Yeah.
but also, just consider for a second, I bet the girl you're coming out with is going to appreciate that. Like, and also I would appreciate that. Like, thank you. Like, thanks for doing it. Like, that was, like, you could look amazing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's this communal thing that we've lost a little bit, where we're so into our own independence. Like, no one can tell me what to do. It's a beautiful thing to dress up for someone. Like, it's like, hey, I'm just realizing I'm not dressed up or whatever. Like,
Yeah, it would have been really nice.
but like if I
you had
didn't wear
shown
my
some
favorite
effort.
flannel today, it's COVID. But I think that there's this, this old school but beautiful communal thing when, as a kid, did you ever have to put this is funny, like we had to put like sport coats on when we got on an airplane. Did you ever? No, okay, so our parents are like, here they come. I have two brothers. We all have like a little blue blazers on. You didn't know?
No, I don't even think I had a sport coat as a kid. We did do the thing where you had to do the same outfit for holiday photos.
Yeah.
Did you guys do that?
Everyone matched?
Yeah, where everyone had like a red turtleneck and like khaki pants.
Totally.
That's a thing that's fallen by the wayside.
For now. Maybe we
bring
bring
it back.
that back. Maybe that's... Yeah, that idea that you sort of dress alike or dress up for, or just, hey, I want to put my best foot forward. If you were like Will Smith in that movie, where his last man on the planet, you wouldn't do it, right? But like, it's for the other person, and I think that other-centered sort of consideration is fancy.
Yeah.
And it's really cool when you're in a room of 150 people and they've all done it. It starts to become this gift for the stranger, for the other person that you don't even know. And
it's similar almost to like the shared experience of like a concert, where everybody's showing up with the same kind of, hopefully, intention. And there's a palpable energy to people being in a room together with at least some sense of similar focus and intention.
Respect for the same thing.
Yeah, which we haven't had for a year.
How's that going?
It's weird. I wonder, I think a lot about how much that affects our mental states, like not having those kind of shared group
communal
intentional things. Like, I do think that contributes to a lot of the kind of tension and anxiety that people feel these days, because we're not having those shared group experiences.
We've been pulled out of relationship.
Yeah.
And I think we were made for relationship. I think we're wired that way. And a concert, a restaurant, coffee shop, whatever the case may be, even if it's not intentional community with someone that you know, but even just to be out together with strangers is so important. I really wrestle with the idea that community is our group of friends, as opposed to community are just who happens to be in the room with you right now. And we have a responsibility to them as if we would our own friends drinking a beer on our own back patio. And maybe it's not as intimate or as personal or relational, but there's this filling up that happens when we are together in so many ways, and we're missing that.
Yeah,
we're missing that. Music is it's a huge piece of it.
Has there been any like silver linings of this time for you? Like obviously being in the restaurant industry, this has been a challenging time for you guys, to say the least. But I feel like I've talked to a lot of different people who, despite how difficult this year is, they've either realized things that they had taken for granted or came away with some kind of, things they've learned. Like, has there been anything that stood out to you?
Yeah. I think I'm more aware of the ways in which I want to change. Like to me, I want to use this year. We talk about going back to normal or back to the way things were, and I don't know if that's so much the goal as much as it is to move forward. Mm-hmm. And I think in moving forward, we have to let this hard season affect us. Mm. And to the degree that we don't let it affect us, we dishonor it. You almost dishonor the pain and the grief and the hardship, the brokenness that we all just went through. Mm-hmm. But to let it change us, that's to honor what just happened, right? And so I'm questioning right now, I don't know if it's a silver lining so much, but like, cool, how do I let this change me? Right. How am I a different person on the other side of it? Right. And what have I learned? And I've learned so much. And I think it's kind of taken me aback a little bit just around what I have to be like thankful for, and the simple things that maybe I took for granted a year ago that now seem like such a gift. Time with my kids, a night at home. A pandemic is a sucky time to own a restaurant. Yeah. It's an amazing time for dinners at home with the family, right? And so if you just look at these things like, all right, well, I can't have this one, but I can have this. And I would have done anything pre-pandemic to slow down how fast my kids were growing up and to spend more time with them. Like anything. And here we have this opportunity this whole year where it's like, well, hell, you can't but spend time with your kiddos. We're all just stuck in the same room together. And that can be intense also. I hope my kids are listening. Sometimes too intense. Like, obviously we need space from one another, but I just think to look at this year retrospectively and to say, wow, how far we've come and what good has come out of it, while we, with really open eyes and open hearts, look at what went wrong, right? Yeah. I think we got to hold both those things at the same time. So I'm just trying to do that here. I
think the analogy too of grief is important, because in my experience of, like, in times of tragedy, the only way to really effectively process it is to let yourself feel it, which I think is, like, a great point from what you just said of this whole year. The only way that we actually process it is to, like, be okay with feeling it, which is, maybe that in itself is a lesson within a lesson that we've learned this year, because the pace of things before, I know for myself, like, I never had to really stop and feel stuff because life was always on the move. I was always traveling. There was new stimulation all the time. Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just, went mute. And I'm up and I moved to a cabin in the woods.
You ended up in, like,
Yeah. And it was like
your Thoreau moment of just sort of
Yeah.
No, but does the silence, or does the stillness of it, doesn't it, like, how did that affect you? Was it stark?
It was really terrifying at first, and the analogy that I kept making to people was like, when the roadrunner runs off the cliff and he's like still spinning his legs,
moving, but he isn't. Yeah. Like the moment right before that.
Yeah,
totally.
That's how I felt for a while. But to have everything like stripped away, for me, definitely made me realize how much I was either masking or just kind of not dealing with or avoiding. Mm-hmm. And also to take stock of, like, who you are outside of all the things that give you validation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which was incredibly terrifying.
Yeah. Where does our sense of identity come from?
Yeah.
When so much of the stuff that's maybe been filling that void, or at least distracting us in that way, is not there, or temporarily on hold or something, it's time to pause and reflect and get to ask those questions. Yeah. Like, okay, like, what am I made of? Like, like, what matters to me now? And to be totally honest, like I wouldn't wish this season on anyone, but I feel like that is a silver lining that we get to take away, because it's all going to turn back on, sooner than we know it.
Yeah.
And suddenly the rush and the din of the everyday, like, hustle. I wonder if we don't slip too easily into that and then look back and kind of crave some of the slow, forced stillness, some of the pace and the measuredness and the quality caliber time we had to just digest. Sometimes I feel like I am consuming all day long, not food necessarily, but information and media and input, and crawl into bed, I'm still like scrolling through my phone. It's like, at some point, to just digest it, to think about the article I just read, to wrestle through, sitting here with you, like, what are the words of that song? Like, what does that song mean? Like to sit with. I think of 100 years ago, you couldn't just like download it. You got a book, you were so stoked, you read it, and then you're like, oh man, I'm out of books.
Yeah, guess I'll read it again.
Guess I'll read it again, right?
Yeah.
Like, and there's something really remarkable about rereading a book, or even just setting it down and then just sitting on the bench and thinking about it. The next one arrives in the mail. Like, wow, I gotta chew on that. And I think if anything, I'm guilty of a lot of things, but like not chewing on, digesting on, doing the work up here. It's so much easier just to read the next book, just to take in the next thing.
I feel that way even with like podcasts that I listen to, where I feel like I'm getting all this information that makes me feel like I'm getting smarter, but I end one and just start the next one.
You get your hit. That was a good one.
Yeah.
And then what's the move?
Yeah. Just the next one.
Yeah, why not just drive another like 20 blocks and think about all of that information you just took in, right? And like, how is it gonna? So I feel like this year is sort of a picture of that. It's a moment to pause and reflect.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I need to take this in. And really, I'm wondering if I don't, and maybe it's like too soon to talk about. Like, I wonder if I don't need to get further down the road and then look back at this time to try to actually understand it or to put it in context, because very much still, like, we're still in it.
Yeah.
You're not playing concerts and I'm in a closed restaurant.
Yeah.
It was a year ago in 2 days that we shut this thing down. So it's like, whoa, we're still in it.
Yeah.
But
there's a bit of the songwriting process is a bit like that for me, where sometimes you do need space from whatever it is you're trying to talk about in order to get real perspective on it. Like, when you're in the middle of the thing, it's almost...
It's not the time.
It's maybe not the time.
So I figure, like, she breaks up with you, and then, like, that night you write the song. Like, in the middle of the pain. No, is that not true? You're just, like, weeping in the corner, and a month later you write it? Or, like...
Well, getting back to the, like, not processing stuff, ironically, sometimes that can be a crutch to avoid actually processing pain that I think I've experienced in my life. I'll take those moments where I really should be just grieving what's happening, and instead try to capitalize on it.
Make sense of it.
Well, not even make sense of it sometimes, but just to be like, well, I need to use this to make a song so that I can sell it and perform it.
Leverage the pain into what I do.
Yeah, which is really kind of, in a sense, there is a...
Because you wouldn't want to get to a state of total numbness and be like, okay, I've achieved perfect balance, now I'll write. You kind of want to write as a reflection of where you're at.
But the irony is, I think that numbness can come from not ever actually fully processing grief.
Okay.
And so in the long run, you are lessening your capacity to actually engage with real emotions, because you are just capitalizing on what you're feeling in that moment without actually like letting yourself just feel it as a person. There's this need to like feel it and then express it as an artist, which is part of that is I think great, but part of it can also be, I think it can stunt your development as a person. And so this year has been the bigger version of like, hey, maybe don't write it
just yet.
Right. Yeah. Just be with it. Yeah, that's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, I would think the temptation would be, like, I don't know, did you ever journal? You ever write
I used to.
like the problem with journals, of course, is that you just wonder if anyone's ever going to read it, and then that ruins anything you're writing.
Yeah.
It's like I can't purely write it. Like, I literally need to go to an island, hide by myself, and write this thing right before I die, and then bury it. You know what I mean? Like, in order to get the pure thing on the page, and I wonder in songwriting if there isn't this moment where you're like, no, it's too soon. It's too soon.
Yeah.
It's like I'm processing. But in your head, aren't you also sort of, there's so like beautifully iterative about, wait, there's a song in there. Like, can't you just write it out and innocently be like, no, this truly is, I am not leveraging this. Like, I know that I'm a musician, that's how I make money or whatever.
Yeah.
This is my jam, the thing.
But
also, do you ever just get to write freely like a dying man on an island in his journal? Like, is that a thing?
It gets harder the longer I do this. Some ways the songwriting is way easier because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it does get harder to separate the idea that this is something I'm going to release into the world. This is why, like, another thing I've kind of gained from this time off is that I've started working like construction on the side again with my dad.
Cool.
And it's been really refreshing to just do something that is separate, like to not have your art be your sole your sole means of income. And I'm so fortunate to be in a position where it can be my sole means of income. Yeah. But like weirdly learning to just kind of make some space so it doesn't have to be so...
The one thing.
Yeah, so much tension around that.
Well, so I got to think the discipline of applying yourself to a trade, to a practice, to a skill that is completely outside of what it's got to be cathartic or like just mind clearing in a way.
Yeah, and especially because the other thing that I do, the art part, is all up in here.
Right.
All the time.
So to have something physical.
Just be like, and it's still artistic in a way.
Yeah.
You're like, I do tile and marble, so there's like, you get to make something.
Oh, you do the
nice.
hard work.
Oh yeah, I'm cutting.
You
tiles.
got like a little like marble cutter thing.
Oh yeah.
You're like, are you building a shower? What are you doing?
I'm doing showers, backsplashes, all sorts
really?
of stuff. Yeah.
I just silicone. I should have called you. I was really struggling
now
with,
you know.
with my shower thing.
I
didn't know. You got like a business card or something? This just in.
Yeah.
You're looking for a contractor. Actually, I am looking for a contractor. Like, how good are you?
We can talk about it afterwards.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Yeah. I need a shed.
I can't do a shed.
No,
unless it's a tile shed.
It is 4 sticks and a corrugated grade roof.
We'll see. Yeah.
We're turning the Yurt Village into Camp Canlis.
Okay.
So we're taking those tiki huts down. We're gonna
Gotcha.
every shed. I mean, I don't know what you're doing next week. Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I think to be able to separate things out like that is healthy. And I think taking this time this year to slow everything down has actually allowed me to realize that. And I hope we can all like take the things, like you said, I hope we can first of all really stop and experience this fully.
Yeah.
And then be able to take those lessons on into the future.
I think that's the goal, right? It's like how do we stay present to where we are right now? And how do we see that in a way that's realistic? It's not inside of some weird paradigm, or not. We're not like sticking our heads in the sand and not seeing the reality. But also, how do we speak the good and the bad at the same time? Like, it's even in storytelling. It's so easy to just start to massage that one way and another. And even now, when someone comes in, I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm good. And then everyone looks at you like, are you though? Hey, there's a pandemic. It's like, screw you. Yeah, I know there's a pandemic. Like, I get it, bro. Also, I'm having a great day. So, like, kind of back off on that.
Not needing to manufacture trauma.
I don't manufacture this whole, like, let's all just, overly be down in the dumps. And it's a weird thing to say out loud in the midst of like a global pandemic.
Right.
But
Because you don't want to seem insensitive.
no, or unaware, or but at the same time, I want to look around and say like, hey, there's stuff here that we can hold on to. There's the truth is, many of us are going to make it through this, and there's goodness all around us all the time. And so, in my little finite mind, I can't hold all of it at once. I just kind of try to focus on the good and how can I be bringing up instead of tearing down. And I don't know. Yeah, I think it's just going to be like this grand social experiment that we get to look back on.
Yeah.
How does it, if you were making a prediction, the next album or something, like how does it impact you? You know, when you look back at stocks and you go back, you're like, oh, you know, March 2020, it's this major dip.
Yeah.
Like, do we look back on your music and we're like, whoa, you know, pandemic, like there's this like spike in the, I don't know, like
hopefully it's just a spike it got really good.
It got really good, like is that? Do you think that?
I guess I don't think in so much those terms as much as how do I feel about my relationship to my music and how it defines me as a person and how it defines me less post this time and how I think that's really healthy.
You want it to define you less post this time. Why?
Yeah. Because I'm so much more than just music.
Yeah.
Just as much as you are so much more than just a guy who runs a fancy but not pretentious restaurant.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the lesson of slowing down, having all of it stripped away, having all the validation stripped away, to be like, who are you as a person?
Yeah.
And finding that, if you can, is much more sustainable and grounding than the ups and downs of, is my art good enough? Am I successful enough?
Yeah.
You know?
Because it's a weird thing when I feel this way, which is like, I hope they like me tonight.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Nobody really cares about someone else's dinner experience. They walk in, they're like, hey, you need to impress me. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit of this like, dance, sucker, you know what I mean? Like, all right, here we go, let's put it on. And I don't mean to say that in like a weird way, but you gotta show up.
Yeah.
Like, every night, you gotta show up every song, right? It doesn't matter like how you record it if I paid to come to your concert, and it certainly sounds weird. But I feel like in the midst of us doing our work, like whether that's so fun or whether it's like true toil, there's this opportunity to be known. And I think one of the things I'm learning is how much I crave to be known.
Yeah.
Like, not as some guy that would stand at the front door, not as a guy who owns a restaurant, right? But like, I think we all crave that a little bit.
And to know, to be known, and then to know yourself as well.
And to be wanted. A little bit, like if I'm honest, like, I really want my wife to truly know me, and then to still accept, to still bless what is, to still want that. And there's the fear that, if they really knew me, maybe I just get kicked to the curb. Yeah. And so I think one of the hopes for this place, for the restaurant, is that there's 100+ employees in here, that we get to like ply our trade, like blood, sweat, and tears, like pour everything we have into what we do, and the outcome of that would be that we know one another better, and that Canlis is known better. And I don't know, I've always admired your trade because it seems like you get to, I don't know if it's real vulnerability or if it's just like a rock star thing, but like it seems like you get to be known. Like you stand up there and be like, hey, this is what I was thinking in my darkest moment. I wrote it all down, set it to music, and now I'm just gonna pour my soul out on the stage. Seems a little freaky, like it seems a little scary, like a little.
It can be
a little vulnerable.
I think it's a really. It's a natural thing that you kind of either have or you don't, but it's also a learned thing where you learn to channel it. But still, you are massaging it. So it is.
Do you ever feel like it's too much? You ever singing a song and you're like, whoa, no, can't go there. Like pull it back.
I've had moments where after I've written it and I've performed it, and like my mom will be at the show, I'm like, oh man, as I'm singing something, I'm like, wow, that's kind of a lot. But try to just roll with it. But
there's no like vulnerability hangover post-show.
Sometimes there is. Yeah, actually there is.
You go hide in a corner.
I remember my dad like saying once, like after a show from a tour, he was like, wow, that's really intense. And I was like, yeah, it was kind of intense. And then
That's sweet of him, though.
Yeah. But vulnerability it's a gift to be able to to monopolize on vulnerability.
Yeah.
But to also express vulnerability and hopefully give language to things that maybe other people are feeling that they don't have the same vocabulary for emotionally or otherwise. And but it's also, I think I have to keep remembering that there's vulnerability on stage and then there's actual vulnerability in life, which are not the same thing. And one people clap for, the other sometimes makes people, your partner, your family, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. And I think that's the challenge.
That one you're talking about is letting someone affect you.
Yeah.
Because I don't really, other than like, throwing a piece of lettuce and booing, I don't know if people have done that after the 1800s, but like, there's no real way but like, if we're dating and you do something and I'm like, whoa, man, no, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. The actual vulnerability would be to let me actually influence you, which is rough, hard, doesn't go well over here. You know what I mean? Like, it's scary.
Yeah, takes time.
Yeah.
And intention, yeah.
But I wonder if that isn't your great charge, like your opportunity. Like in so many ways, I think you get to model, and you do model beautifully for society, what it is to be, like the strength that comes from vulnerability. When I think societally, particularly for some reason on the male side of things, there's this false message that strength would come not from vulnerability. And I just feel like, man, to unwrite that script would be a really powerful thing for our country.
Yeah.
Step one.
I think that's important.
So,
well, I think I'm going to leave it on that note. Thanks for talking with me and being vulnerable. And
happy to.
Yeah, this is great.
Vulnerability.
Yeah, we're just monopolizing.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
For playing here, for being here.
Totally.
That's super cool.
Thank you.
You remind me of cigarettes, the way I hold you in my chest, the way you kiss me with your filter breath. I keep thinking I'm getting over this. And once you had me, you don't have me anymore. I don't crave you in the morning or at the company store. I don't use you to escape, and my fingers out the door. Once you had me, you don't have me anymore. But honey, you're smooth. Honey, you're smooth. Honey, you're smooth. Honey, you're smooth. You don't make me cool. I can carry on fine without you. You're a spirit, you can't be beat. When I'm jonesing, honey, I bite cheap. Once you had me, you don't have me anymore. I don't crave you in the morning or at the company store. I don't use you to escape in my fingers out the door. Once you had me, you don't have me anymore. Yeah, but the truth is that you do, just not the way that you used to. There's something after you. But honey, you're smooth. Honey, you're smooth. Oh, honey, you're smooth. Yeah, honey, you're smooth. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, oh, There's a new day coming up over the east side. There's an unseasonable weight in the air. It hasn't rained here in a long time. It's been a real dry year. Sirens going off in the distance. Someone's house is burning down. Somewhere a young man is dying. Somewhere a lost child is found. Some days it feels like we're dreaming, moving like shadows in a trance. Are these my feet going through the motions? Are these my feet attempting to dance? Some days the world feels like a building on fire, but everyone's ignoring the smoke. You would vote for a comedian if he could comfort you with a joke. So you hold on to your values like they're gonna save you from the fall. Your offspring as an offering, so you don't have to choose at all. We get by on consumer masturbation, the sensation of satiation, the accumulation of all your high school insecurities, all your lost love and aspirations, all your failed attempts at inspirational speeches you give yourself at night when you can't sleep. 'Cause everyone on the internet is far more interesting and far more happy and far more happy and far more. So tell me where all of this is going to. Tell me where all of this is going to. Now the sky's giving up her child, and the dead grass of the back lawn. I hope she takes the water in my body when I'm gone. Say something awful, as if fucking the world is your right. And I watch you stumble, drunk out into the night, to catcall ladies thirsty for blood. You're picking a fight. And I wanted to ask you, man, what do you do in the daylight? So buy me a cigarette, buy me a beer till I'm happy to be here. Happy to be here with all of my family, hookers in heels and the men who watch them, hungry black eels. Run into me Sunday and tell me you had one hell of a time. Through the haze and the gun smoke, I'm forced to believe you're probably right. Well, someone lies bleeding, someone got violent and did not think twice. And I watched you, my brother, rightfully anxious, tearing through pages of books that I once liked to read, in search of a sign in the back of my mind for the person I once used to be. Driving in cars, drinking in bars, these are the things I remember. We smoked cigarettes, hedging our bets that the angel of death wouldn't see. I wanna reach through the fog I've been living in and bravely remember the days, not just the past with its deafening laugh as it rubs all my shit in my face. I wanna see the future as it's happening to me, good or bad, taking it easy. I've been wasting away hours and days, chasing those faraway feelings, as the quality of my memory loses all of its meaning. But now, as before, there is more to discover. So I wanna reach through the fog I've been living in and bravely remember the days, not just the past with its deafening laugh as it rubs all my shit in my face. I wanna see the future as it's happening to me, good or bad, happy or sad. Think of all the fun we'll have, sure